Welcome to Unity Spiritual Center, Pflugerville. Today we're talking about an interesting subject. It is basically that things change and it's up to us. Things wear out and need to be replaced. And I've been looking at today's world. Anybody agree that things have been different even in the last 20 years? What I was looking at is how much have telephones changed in the last 30, 40 years. Anybody help me? Anybody remember the dial? I doubt myself, I date myself. And then anybody remember party lines? When you had 3 or 4 people on the same line and you had to check and make sure there was nobody? I can remember when cell phones first came in, and they were these big brick things, so they were huge. And it was really, really a status symbol to carry one of these big, ugly things around. I even had one in the car. Well, that's up there. It was very, very interesting. And it was, is that thing really going to last? And I had people trying to sell me stock in companies. No, that thing's not going to last. And now the whole world is run by phones that keep getting smaller and smaller. And I am told that the average phone you have in your pocket is more powerful than the computer that went to the moon. Do you understand what that means? And so have things changed? Yes. Have we changed? No. So where is change happening? And you go on, even the food we eat. You go into the supermarket today, it's totally different than it was 50 years ago. Excuse me, 20 years ago. I don't want to go back that far. How you cook in the kitchen, is it different? We have microwaves, we have all kinds of things now. And now the big thing is what, air fryers or whatever it is? Okay, so everything changes, but we're still the same human being in the same body. We're also being forced to look at issues. Anybody familiar with that? Anybody agree that some of the emotional and cultural issues have worn out? Things have changed. I can remember, honestly, and those of you relatively new, we are a spiritual organization here. We teach that you are God and you are divinity in its essence because you were created in the image and likeness of God, and that never changed. The only thing that changed was our understanding of it, and we forgot it. So what we're doing is we're on a journey trying to return back to the Father's house. That was the whole idea behind the prodigal son. It's a story that helps you understand that that's who you are, a child of God. And we have forgotten that. And I was raised in, I'll give you the story again, okay? But I was raised in a very fundamentalist house. We couldn't dance, couldn't play cards. Oh, God. No, it was evil to do this and that. Anybody familiar with that? Yeah. Sundays and Sunday evenings and Wednesday prayer meetings. And we even had morning devotions in our family, okay? Interesting conversation to leave behind. In 1978, I can remember hearing the words of a unity group for the first time. I couldn't believe it because I had reached the point, I was one of those people that had to remember 3,000 verses. Remember, you got pins? Anybody do that in a Sunday school? So I had it all here, but I didn't understand what it really meant. And when I first started hearing that you are a child of God and the words that Jesus spoke are actually spiritually interpreted, it changed my life. And I started talking about it and found out I couldn't talk about it. Now, this was back, in the 60s? Because it was cultish if you did that. However, is it open conversation today? The world has changed. So the world keeps changing, and I'm told it keeps changing faster and faster and faster. Okay? So what's going on? What's happening? And part of me is really, really looking at progression, change, and me keeping up to date with what's occurring with the energies in the world. And a couple of weeks ago, Madeline and I made the announcement that we were moving on to retirement. And I was thinking about that. And I've been told, Dad, give it up. Anybody have family that tells you what to do? And they're right. They're right. It's time to move on to another thing. And that thing is spend some time in silence in understanding. Okay? What I found was that things are changing quickly. Has the message changed? No. The kingdom of heaven is still within, according to Jesus. It's the Father's good pleasure to give us the kingdom. True? See, he said these things, and we've forgotten that. Don't worry. I forget how many times he said, don't worry. I use the term, the 11th commandment, sweatest thou not. Okay, but the idea behind it is life changes, and it's up to us to change with those. Would you agree, even the cars we drive, we've gotten used to the changes? And can you imagine not having a car that doesn't have a radio in it? You see, we have gotten so used to these adaptations that they're part of our life, and we automatically change what we're doing. And people leave, people come in. It's a balance. Things are happening everywhere present. So it's up to us to understand that process and adapt to change. And it's not easy. Anybody agree? I'm finding, it's amazing to me. It's like, and I have to talk personally. I spent years reading. Anybody familiar with books? Okay. And I was really proud of a library of metaphysical ideas and spiritual stuff. I attended every seminar you could ever think about. Yeah, I've been through the S and the this and then that. Okay. And they all were part of my consciousness. But in today's world, things have changed dramatically. Okay. And the way we do things has changed dramatically. And people are overwhelmed with information. True? And people are looking for an answer to life. And so how do you live a life? And how do you live a life well? And how do you live a life that honors yourself and others? And I realize we are celebrating this afternoon a life that did those things. I am sentimental. And I'm going to have a hard time getting through. I am. But life changes, but there's still solid values, ideas, truths, spiritual truths that exist throughout the centuries, no matter what. And as things change around us, if we stay at that core, the rest of the life works. And the idea behind it is, as a man thinketh in their heart, or a woman thinketh in their heart, so are they. So if you're thinking negative thoughts, what kind of life do you have? Negative life. If you're angry and upset at people, what happens? People get angry and upset at you. If you express love and appreciation, what comes back? Love and appreciation. If you give money easily, what comes back? Tough one, hard one. It's lack of intuitive. So all these principles are rock solid, and things are changing around us. So how do we create the communication of those changes? It's really fascinating to me. Now, I got lots of examples of change, and I'm going to put my glasses on so I can read, and I have them very handy here. Okay. They laugh at me because I can't find my glasses. Anybody have reading glasses? We should be able to overcome it. We are healers. I'm looking at entertainment. RJ is a sound technician. He does all kinds of this music he recorded that all beautifully. He's got sound upon sound. There's 3 or 4 tracks in everything you do. So, and he's sitting on the boards with all this. Anybody ever seen a board with all the stuff on it? That's what he does. Okay? That didn't even exist 20, 30 years ago. Okay? So what has happened in that area? Anybody remember 78 RPMs? Anybody remember 33 1/3? How about 45s? Okay? How about reel-to-reel tape? How about cassettes? How about, do you understand? Things change. Okay? We also had DVDs. And things have changed over time. Interesting things have occurred. For some reason, I'm going back to Tom's life. I find out all kinds of things about Tom, and please bear with me. There is an idea in running plants, big plants. Anybody ever been in one? Steel and plant. I was a foreman in a car manufacturing company, Ford, for a while. And they would shut machines down once in a while and do what they call preventive maintenance. Anybody agree? And see, here's the idea. Every machine made is going to wear out sometime. It's actually the second law of thermodynamics, which is entropy, that things wear out and have to be replaced. Okay? So the idea is for years and years, they would run a machine until it broke down, and then everybody would panic and try to get it fixed. Okay? Anybody agree you do that with your car? You hope you can get past the next inspection or whatever it is. However, they found out, and we need to look at the idea that occasionally you can predict, because things do follow the same pattern, when a machine is going to break down. And if you do that, you shut the machine down a day or two before you think it's going to fail. You preventive maintenance it, you work with it, and get it back online without losing all the time of everybody involved. Sound like a good idea? It's also important for us once in a while to shut down and to seek spirit and forget about and leave everything behind and move forward. Now, I didn't know it. Tom invented in the boiler business the machinery that could tell you when a boiler was going to fail. I didn't know that. Okay? So there's all kinds of things happening that are metaphors for us in our spiritual world. Okay? Now, I've been told to keep it to 10 minutes, so I have to be careful. I want you to know that MJ is running everything today. Okay? I'm reading things because I want to keep in. Hi, Judy. There is a spiritual track to follow. And that spiritual track to follow is understand who you are. Okay? One of the interesting things is that we think we don't have choices in life. It's one of the things that is let's say, I want to use the word corrupting, but a little strong, but that is the one that's fouling the consciousness in today's world. In other words, people look at things that have happened to them and express it outside. Jesus said the kingdom of heaven is within, so everything that happens to me, it happens because of my thinking. Okay, and we're looking at that in a world today where we are and why we get what we want. So once in a while, the process is, number one, understand who we are. And that takes a big step. There's a choice. We say, okay, it ain't working the way it is. And I use the word ain't on purpose just to emphasize that. It's not working the way it is. There must be a better way to do things. There must be an answer, and the answer must be beyond the normal form. So we live in a material formed world, and that world is driven by the inner spirit. Jesus said that God is spirit and must be worshipped in spirit. And Jesus said we have that spirit within us. So we have, if you use logic, we have within us that Spirit of God. And we have the ability to return to the innate Spirit of God that we are, which is a very, very interesting conversation. And there is a system to get there. And the system is what Pat brought to us this morning, prayer and meditation in silence, learning to be quiet. Anybody agree that all the master religions of the world discuss meditation? Yes? So there must be something there. Okay? So that period of silence, that period of reverence, is part of the process of returning. Okay? And I haven't found anything to the contrary in my work. Okay? Now that's personal. Okay? And the other part of that is study to consider thyself approved unto God, which means I have to keep reading ideas that are conducive to me returning to spirit. Okay? Really, what are you reading? What are you looking at? What TV are you watching? Okay? Anybody agree? It's full of violence today. Okay, and what you see is what you bring into ideas yourself. So the kingdom of heaven is within. What are we putting into our heaven and accepting as who we are? Okay, and then the next step is, who are you hanging out with? What? I'm getting there. Thank you. She's great. She's great. By the way, if you're new here, but this goes on all the time. Yes. The truth is, we're only halfway there, or 3/4 of the way there. Okay? This is Paul, the Apostle Paul. The Apostle Paul was a very interesting story. The Apostle Paul became the major sharer of the message that Jesus had throughout the Middle East and throughout that area. You know what? He never met Jesus as a human being. Never. The story is, he was on a journey and he got strucken. He was blind and couldn't talk. And he had his sight returned by an individual. And at that point in time, he saw Jesus in a supernatural way. And he actually became, if you really go into almost any church, fundamentalist church, what they're talking about is Paul's work. Because they talk out of the letters. They don't generally talk out of the 4 Gospels. Yes? Okay? So Paul became the major mouthpiece for what Jesus brought into the world. And he's one of the reasons that Christianity is a dominant religion today. Okay? And what he says is directly, if you believe it, a pipeline from God. Okay? So he says, my brother, I do not consider they have reached the goal, but this thing I know, forgetting those things which are behind. In other words, anybody agree we've had some problems in our life? I don't know about you. Well, I'm sorry, you haven't. Tragedy. Sickness. You know, what is it? 50% of the marriages in the United States today don't make it. Okay, all kinds of human issues, which are material issues created by the ego mind barfing out its beliefs that we have picked up from other people. I often talk about a guy that we worked with, Madeline and I, years ago. He became rather famous and rather infamous, as a matter of fact. But he said, what he would tell people is, he said, I have to compete with your neighbors and friends who control your mind. He said, if we can get them away from you and start creating pictures of God and goodness in your mind, you will change. And you will have prosperity and health and happiness and all the things you're looking for. Okay? And you'll forget about differences between people. You'll understand that we're here to love each other. That's total purpose we're here, is to support and work with each other. And forgetting those things which are behind. Now, I don't know about you, I've had some issues in my life. I've had some people that have been nasty. Yes? I've had some people that hurt me. I've had some people that took money. I had people that hired me with wonderful, wonderful promises that never happened. Anybody been there? Before I met Madeline, I had disappointments in relationships. Today's world, marriages are what, 2 and 3 and 4 times? All kinds of things to leave behind. And if we don't leave them behind, what's still affecting us? The old stuff. So here's Paul very clearly giving us one of the major spiritual principles. I have not gotten where I want to get yet, and I'm going to leave behind. I strive now for those things before me. It's like this church. Now I'm preaching to the members of this church, okay? You guys have been through crazy stuff. You've been through a big, beautiful building. You've been through a little shack. You've been through in hired places. You're now working in a, what is this? It's a clubhouse for the local community here, okay? We're doing well here. We've been here, and we still haven't found our home. So what? Where are we going? What are we going to do? How many people are we going to affect? Okay, and what is the message? Is the message valuable? And if that message is valuable, how do we present it to others? Okay? And so things are changing. Anybody agree it's not the same world it was 20, 30 years ago? You can't get somebody's attention for 5 seconds, let alone 10 minutes to listen to a conversation. So the world has changed, and the way we do things has to change. Also, our intent has to change. Our culture has looked for leaders, looking for people to tell me what to do. That is over. Leadership is now essentially with you, because we're all individual gods, individual godlets. We're each creating our own life, and we're starting to realize that. That's why people are standing up. That's why there's so much contention. Understand the reason there's so much chaos is because it's not working, and people are saying, hey, I want mine. Well, they're starting to think. So now it's up to us to come together and decide what we're going to do as groups. Everybody see the difference? Leadership, even at the national level, is kind of lacking, yes? I'm not going there. Tommy.
Are all changes good?
Depends on your consciousness. Is that where you buy into that?
Yeah.
Because all change is not good. However, I can overcome that idea. Because change it's framing it. And that's one of the problems. We are forced with a time of change, agree? I don't want an electric car. Why? Because it's not the way I've done it all my life. It's the same story. I've never done that before. It's uncomfortable. What do you mean invite somebody that doesn't look like me into my house? And I use that just for the metaphors of what's going on. Okay? And it's really true. We as a culture, it's time to come together, but we're more divided than we've ever seen. I don't know about you, but that's what I see. And all I see is that means things are getting ready to change. And who's going to help that change is, what you people believe is the matter of change, because you turn it over to a higher power, and the higher power knows how to get it handled. So we got to stop trying to figure things out. Okay? I've been talking. Do I have any more time, MJ? A few more minutes. Okay. I could talk for another. I've really got started. I really have. What I want people, members of the church, to understand is it's time to come together and create anew. It really is. I have seen lives change. You have seen lives change. I have seen people miraculously healed. I personally overcame a triple bypass, and within 6 months I was back full blast. Okay? I personally have been through amazing stuff, and your support and the ideas that we teach have taken me through. I have seen a lot of you heal. I've seen you go through relationships. I've seen you bring kids up through college. Anybody agree? Some of them, getting them through college and getting that degree is like, oh, geez, but you did it. Okay? And so you know how to do it. Did you understand the value that's here? And that value needs to be shared with others, but in a loving, kind way. There's nobody better than anybody else. That's one of the first things to understand. We are all children of God, each one created in the image and after the likeness of God, and we're here to be honored and loved by each other. Sole purpose is to bring love into the material world. And as that love comes into the material world, it automatically changes the environment for everybody. So we're all in this together. And we're all in this together to have joy when something new occurs. And we're all in this together to grieve and support when something leaves the environment. So we have all those things. Isn't it great? We live a full and balanced life. And I've talked enough. Do you want to say anything? Anybody have any comments? Those of you brand new, I'm used to people interacting with me. what Tommy stops me all the time.
It's being good today.
What?
Is there going to be a test?
See, you know what's fascinating to me? For years, I heard the concepts. For years, I said, that sounds good. For years, I talked about it. And talking about it doesn't make it happen. My only concern is there are so many people that hear the ideas, get all excited about them, but then don't do the work. It's because it requires a change in life, consciously to say, okay, this is my new life. And then go through the crap, yes, that's not an interesting word, that is required to go back to my higher self. So that's why we're here. That's what we do. And thank you. I love you. And I'll see you later. Okay.